no more meetings. Okay, we're streaming it. And have we ready to go or not?
Yep, you're all set.
You all ready?
Mary says yes.
All right. We do have myself, Paul, Reno, Greg Long, Gerald, and Caroline. That's 6 of us, so that'll work. The agenda, has everyone agreed that this agenda is suitable?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Are there any opposed? In favor, aye.
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 Any opposed to the approval of the agenda? Moving on to the March 11th minutes. Who is that?
Scott Berline. Scott has joined the meeting.
Hello, Scott.
Is that volume go up anymore? I'm sorry, but I have trouble hearing. Thank you.
Now it's back.
And we have the March minutes to discuss. Did anybody see anything that needed attention? I caught one thing, but Sheila fixed it before we even came in. Anybody have any questions about the minutes of the last meeting?
Yeah, I have one just to prove that I read it all the way to the end. Is our next meeting on Thursday, September 9th?
I sent out a correction.
Yeah,
If
that
that was just there. I know you just put it there, Sheila, to make sure people read all the way to the end of the minutes. That's all.
I called her and said, wait a minute, lady, September 9th. And that was the only correction that we had that I caught. I do want to discuss relief shortly. All right. Any further discussion of the minutes of the March 11th? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion second.
I second it.
Hello.
Reno Runk
Any
second.
objection? Any comment? Yep. Then they will stand approved as presented. Report of Natural Resources Manager.
Just got a few things to highlight. The urban forestry assessment. We had the declaring and the levying ordinance went before council in March and passed. We also put a legal notice out the following weekend. So we're good to go on that. The only thing we need to do is transmit that before the
Now,
to the Hamilton County in fall. And we have some the corrections went out and we haven't heard anything back on that. So I think everything's good on the individuals we needed to make corrections for has been done. Carol, you had a question?
Legal notice. I don't remember a legal notice before.
We do it every year. We put it out at the beginning for the first ordinance, and then and the final passage, we put one out there as well.
And the final passage was the last
For the third ordinance, yes, for the levying.
When you get to it.
And okay, I want to discuss the levy in a minute, but our agenda.
Also, in my report, we've got the urban forest specialist Jacob Edwards. He started on the 29th, and he will be the Central District, South District Urban Forester. Is the neighborhoods that got redrawn a little bit, and so we can send out a revised coverage for the districts to, I guess, the buildings and inspections and DOT for that. So he's a Oregon State graduate, and he was the head arborist at Spring Grove Cemetery. He's got a good positive attitude, and he's a quick learn.
I
So,
didn't get the last name, sir.
Edwards.
Now, would he have been, Kurt Kastner put the minutes in my basket by the mail drop. Would he have been a very young person accompanying Kurt?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And one other thing to highlight, the stump grinding contract has been, we have, as of this morning, it's been fully executed. So that's something we've been waiting on for a while.
Okay, now who did get it?
It's Grace.
Grace. And it's finalized, correct?
That's correct. And we put through, and Forestry did do a review with Parks to review some of the existing contracts and some of the upcoming contracts that we need to work on. And we had a good online meeting with that.
Some existing are going to remain, right?
Yes.
And some will be.
Well, they just need to be renewed.
Mhm. Is that because of the timing?
Correct.
Paul, any questions? Anyone else, any questions?
Yeah, I do. This is Gerald. Robin, let's see, who else is here? Crystal, I didn't see you. When are you guys moving from where you are?
We don't know.
I'm not sure. I think from my understanding, and I haven't heard about it in a couple of months, so I'm not sure whether or not the city has received payment for the existing facility that we're in. Upon receipt of those funds, we are expected to enter into contract for design and build of the new facility to meet our needs. So I imagine it'll be at least a couple of years.
Okay.
Do we have a piece of property?
Yeah, we're expected to move to the District 5 location off of Ludlow, at Ludlow and Central. But in order to make it a site that can be used for our team, they have to build a garage, redesign the internal structure to make it kind of a better office space for all the staff that we have here now.
Is that a police station?
Yes.
It's the old District 5 police station.
I thought that was contaminated.
It was.
It was.
Is
So
it
per
currently up?
the environmental assessment that was done, the site was deemed safe and habitable. I don't know exactly what the issue was as far as the police go. That was all before my time. But from my understanding,
There
it was more of a political move than anything,
Mm.
from my understanding, at least.
There
I
was
know that there was a lot of people in a very small space, and it seemed that more than anything, they had outgrown that space for their use. So according to all the records that I've seen and have reviewed, it would be safe for us to move into. The biggest issue for us is just having it redesigned to meet our needs for the size of our team, and the fact that 75% of our current operation is out of the garage, and there's no garage on site.
I was
They
gonna
would
say, I
have to
don't know,
build into the hillside to make it an acceptable site.
So
into
is
the hillside there?
Yeah.
How can, well,
Crystal, is there enough room at that site for our needs? Well, that's why you have good architects like Angie. They can do miracles.
it should.
What about I'm sorry, what about the mechanics operation? Is that moving with you?
I believe the last I heard is that they are going to make space for him down at Fleet. So
Okay.
he will not be a part of our building.
Okay.
That's kind of spread out too. That whole area is, sometimes I come and go to another organization that way. And that whole area really surprised me because that is not large at all. I don't think we could even get what we have here into that space.
I think that's why District 5 Police moved. I think they had like 50 some people, staff in there, just before they left. So they had desks lining up and down the hallways. So that was a good, they were looking for a place to move to.
I thought there was a lot of staff that was getting cancer.
There was.
I'm really concerned about you guys moving into that building.
Well, there are priorities.
Is there an environmental evaluation that is that part of it?
Yes, there was an environmental evaluation done whenever all of the claims were taking place. From my understanding, based on the health department, and I mean, it's been since early 2019 since we started this discussion. So please forgive my lack of good terminology as to who all were involved,
agree.
but it was deemed safe for us to move to based on the environmental evaluations that were done at that time and the reevaluation that was done prior to us proceeding with a design build contract. So from my understanding, it's the best public site for us.
That is my understanding also. I have read the report as well. And the report was not only done by city staff, but by a consultant, if I remember correctly, to get some independence, and things were basically thumbs up to proceed with whatever use we need to. So that's good.
Well, I'm
Sorry,
very
I asked.
concerned about it. Very concerned about it. Anything more? So that would be the report of the natural resource managers and the ordinance and the municipal code. Urban forestry of bylaws, final copy.
Paul found the blue code.
Paul found that?
Yeah, Paul found a mistake, but
6.1.
where are they? Do I have those?
Meetings of the board,
Wait.
bottom of page 2. Meetings of the board, section 6.1.
In here. Sorry.
Urban Forestry Advisory Board shall meet at least bi-monthly.
Yeah, I think that's incorrect because we don't meet every 2 months. But we do meet 6 times a year, but it isn't bi-monthly. Sometimes it's January, February, March, sometimes April. We do not meet usually in June and July and August. Sometimes we do May and sometimes we don't. September, October, November, December, but we don't have to meet all those months either. It's been more or less determined by need. And need was determined at one time in a different way than it is now.
Therefore, the suggestion is to meet 6 times per year minimum. Is that what you're proposing?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, Sheila, can you make that note and update the bylaws?
Yes, ma'am.
Or is everyone on this call in favor of that change?
I was just gonna say,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
with the option, I would add, with the option, and we haven't had a problem for many, many years, but several years, well, a number of years ago, we did have a difficulty and we had to call a special board meeting, believe it or not, in August. So
I'll be right back.
Still covered with the terminology.
it is,
Yeah,
meet 6 times a year.
at least 6 times a year.
At least.
Yeah. Sheila has to be out for the moment, so we'll just await. Looking over these bylaws, I don't see anything that would be a problem. Member selection and terms shall be composed of 11 voting members. Excuse me. I don't think we need 11, do we? that's what we've got. 8 members shall be appointed by, oh, then they're not here. You're right. I'm sorry. 8, I don't know that we've ever had 11 in a meeting. 8 members shall be appointed to serve without compensation. That's correct. 4 selection from community at large. 2, business management, law or public relations. Arboriculture, that's you, Reno. We're missing a board member right now. In fact, we're missing 2, but we're missing a board member right now, Eric Depke, and
Well, we have Mark Bombach here,
Mark is back on.
so
That's
we can
right.
talk to him if we want to bump him up on the agenda if we want to talk to him.
So as far as the bylaws
Yeah,
go, the number of members on the bylaws reflect what we had agreed upon in the change to the ordinance. So again, that section is based upon whether or not the ordinance passes with the edits we've suggested. So both of these documents have been shared with the director at this point. We want to have her eyes on it and guide to for how to proceed.
Okay.
So if I know we've been over these bylaws since maybe November of last year. So are there any other changes that anyone would like to present?
Both, no, I think the number 5 is good. Both president, vice president shall be elected for a period of 2 years and be limited to 2 consecutive terms. At one time, that was 3. And my only suggestion there is that if you're getting acquainted, I mean, you're doing the job as you did, hopefully as vice president, and then you're training the next person in your second year. I believe in the past it was 3. But is there any other thinking on this matter? Do any of you have any thinking on the matter of 2 years? Okay, that's just
I think
fine.
this is,
Pardon?
I think it's
it's
very good the
consistent
way
with
it
other,
stands.
I didn't
yeah,
hear
it's
you.
consistent with other boards I've been on.
Yes, that's fine. Rule of the officers. This is typical of this, many things. You vote, the president votes only. We need to read, that's incorrect English. Pardon me, used to do grammar correction. It's not the president only. The president votes only in case of the needs of a tie-breaking vote.
What's that? Yeah.
The president votes only in case of the needs of a tie-breaking vote. Not the president only. She'd be the only one voting. Vice President Phil, this is all. And it's not undisposed, it's indisposed. Typographicals. Section 5.2D, the vice president fulfills the role of president when the president is indisposed. Pardon me, I tutored English in college. Made little money tutoring English. Okay, notice of regular meetings shall be provided if change occurs. Yes, that's all correct. Voting, all issues voted on or decided by quorum of board members present. I don't see anything in any, does anyone see anything that might cause us a little bit of a situation? We need to sign this. Now, this is interesting because we're not here. Paul and I can sign this. Reno, how do you sign?
I
How
thought
do
we
we
were
sign
supposed to
this
come
when
in
we're
and
not
they
here?
put it on it. I thought they'd put it on the table
We're
in
gonna
the
vote for it,
office
but
and
I'm
we
concerned
walk in
about-
and sign it.
Yeah, we're going to vote on this, but I was going to say, okay. Does anyone have any question about any of these points? Any part of this? Does anyone have a question?
No, I
Well,
moved,
one
I moved to
question.
accept it.
Pardon? Go ahead, Gerald, or who said first? Reno?
Reno, you're on mute.
Reno?
Yeah, the only question
Hey,
that I
you.
have on it is that these are bylaws, they're not actual law. So if we
No.
say we're having bi-monthly meetings and we have 2 in a row or 3 in a row, it doesn't mean we are in trouble. Bylaws are more like a guideline, aren't they, in what we follow?
Correct.
But if we want
That's
to have
correct.
meetings January and February and March and then September, October and November, we can.
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't want anyone to get confused that we had
So-
to have,
If we leave it the way it is right now in here, if we have them, we try to have them bi-monthly. But if we
Yeah.
decide that we need 2 in January and February, 1 January
Mm-hmm.
and 1 February, we're not going to go to jail for it because they're not laws
okay,
as such. Am I correct on that?
yes,
So if
Okay.
if it stays the way it is, so we can approve what we've got in front of us, is it causing any problem? My question.
does anyone have an opinion? Hearing none, we will proceed. All right, then we will,
So does it get changed?
only the wording in 5.2, the president votes only in case of the needs.
We're not changing by monthly.
We're not changing bi-monthly. All right. Then let's go to the approval of these bylaws. Are there any further questions? All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Hearing none, they shall be adopted. Now, the back page, we need signatures. I'm not exactly sure how we do this when no one's here.
So Robin.
So I suggest that we wait to sign off on this until after law and the director have approved.
Yeah,
So I don't think we
Okay.
need to sign it until it goes through the process.
okay. Well, I thought we'd already presented to law. Is that incorrect?
No, we still need to do that.
Excuse me.
We'll send a final version to them.
Law Department. Mhm. I've never known of a time when there was ever an objection to any of this, but we do need to go through the process. Will we, okay, now, that presents a difficulty. Do we, if we don't meet in May, then what? It'll be September before we get to this.
No, we can just, we approve that and Crystal or Robin can notify the board that the bylaws are ready to be signed and we all stop by the office and sign them.
That was,
That would be the easiest thing in my mind, Gerald, to do something like that.
I was
Yes.
just gonna suggest it. Thank you, Gerald.
Now, it would be
All
better
right.
if you move to District 5. I can walk there, but that's okay.
Now. Okay, bylaws can be signed by persons coming to this office or wherever we are located.
Well, I'd like to have a maybe a friendly amendment. I think we already voted, or maybe we did not. But if we voted, there should be another motion that if the law department finds some things they want to tweak, we do not need another vote of the board, and we
Correct.
based on the staff recommendation that the modification are not substantial, we can still sign them.
That's good. I don't think we need that in a motion, do we? But that's just protocol, isn't it?
What's that?
I don't think we need that in a motion. If the law department sees something, we have no authority to change that. If the law department sees something,
Well, that's fine, but
Sure,
we
right.
voted on something that may be different when everything is done. I
then it would
just
have
want
to come
to,
up. Yeah. But then we would have to review the whole situation in September.
well,
correct?
I'm proposing we don't. I'm proposing that I'm putting a motion saying that after the law review, if staff
Mhm.
agrees that it is not substantial, whatever is the final version from the law department will be assumed as approved.
That's good.
Sounds good, Gerald. Thank you.
I've never known that to be the situation, but that does help us in case we need it.
Mhm.
All
Do you
right.
make that as a motion?
Yeah,
I guess
second
we
the
do
motion.
need that as a motion. You making that motion, Gerald?
yeah, I did.
And I
Okay,
seconded it.
And we all voted for,
we all voted for it.
and we can move on.
Thank you.
We are moving on. Member selection and terms. I thought we,
Okay. Next item.
officers.
What? That's the bylaws.
Oh,
We're done. Wait,
we're done with the bylaws.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now yeah, we're going.
we go back to the
next-
monthly.
Next thing would be the, did you want to go over the ordinance or you want to go over the?
I guess we need to talk about the ordinance immediately, don't we? All right, urban. The ordinance is
Revisions.
revisions, yeah. I don't know that we, Sugar, do we have that? Where is that?
You're looking at, that's it right there.
Right here.
743.
All right. Do we have, we've discussed this last time, I think also. Was there any situation in here that we have any correction or confusion? I read it cover to cover and I didn't see a single thing. Work on city property, we've already gone through that a number of years.
Yeah, so because we have talked about it many times, I would like to make a motion to approve them as they stand
Thank you.
now.
Thank you very much. Are there any seconds to this matter?
I'll second.
Somebody
This is
second the
Angie.
motion. Paul
Andy second.
Thank you.
or Paul. And any further discussion? All approvals? Aye.
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 Any nay? That passes and that's good.
And again, if we have any direction from the director on this, any comments from the director, we'll take that into account, but otherwise it will go with the bylaws to
Mhm,
law for
Yeah.
comment review.
Okay. New items. Mark Bambaugh, new green industry representative. Is he on this?
Here, yeah.
Mark,
Yes,
where are you?
I'm here. I don't know, is my picture not showing
Okay.
up?
Oh, yeah.
This is not facing me, so. All right.
I just had one question. Is the lady who's speaking, is that Sheila? Or I'm trying to get to know who's who.
Yeah, I'm not in the picture. I'm back here in the corner.
Okay,
This is Carol.
Carol, okay,
And Sheila is here.
all right.
And this is Paul.
Mhm.
Paul. All right.
Well, I'm sure that,
There was a resume included in the packet.
I don't know if you want me to describe myself a little bit or.
Well, I know who you are and I met you before in several capacities, but I don't see the resume.
Why don't you talk about yourself, Mark?
Here's just a, oh, here we go. I think I met you over at the zoo one day. You've certainly done a number of, oh, I read through this at home. Anybody have any comments?
I would like for Mark to present himself.
All right.
Yep, I'll just do a, my background's in horticulture and landscape architecture. And I started off in horticulture, went to Ohio State University for that. And my first real job out of that, I actually worked for the Cincinnati Park Board for about 4 years. And went back to school at Ohio State for landscape architecture. And at the parks, I was working as a florist, the term for a gardener. And after Ohio State, I worked for a company in Columbus, Ohio for a little bit in landscape architecture. Came back to Cincinnati and worked for a few landscaping companies before going out on my own. And been in business on my own for about 8 years now as a freelancer. And I do a lot of work for existing landscaping companies who hire me to do their design work. And so from the park board, I was there in the early 90s. So I remember Gerald and Robin from those days. And so I just have I have a general interest in horticulture and the public parks and street trees and things like that. I was on the neighborhood trustee neighborhood board of Cuff for about 3 years, and I do a lot of work with green space in the neighborhood along with Paul Gallagher as well. And Paul, of course, started it all in our neighborhood. And that's essentially it.
I remember, very interestingly, I remember Deutschland, Germany, that we went, people from the park board and urban forestry went to Munich. And I remember you doing something over there. I don't know whether you planted flowers or what, but I just remember your being there.
I went over there in 1995. It was, so it was, I met people at the from the Munich parks at one of our flower shows and discussed the opportunity for an exchange program. And I ended up doing that actually right as I left the city and before I started at Ohio State. I did that for one summer.
Okay.
But I enjoyed that a lot. Yep. I know a lot of Gerald and a lot of other people have been over there in Germany working on projects.
Yep. That was a very, and we went twice, I think I remember.
So actually, all the positions on the board that are not de facto positions are chosen by the city manager. So I think that the only thing we can do, if I'm correct, is to make a recommendation to the city manager.
That's
so
correct.
I'd like to move to recommend Mark as a representative of the green industry, and that the recommendation be made formally to the city manager.
Do I hear a second to that?
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Hearing none, we will be presenting that.
So how do you manage, Mark, to not look a year older since 1995?
I'll show you the back of my head.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Amen, and let us say amen. The mask does me a tremendous favor. I have nothing else on here except Arbor Day. Now, Robin?
It was tight. It was tight this year for Arbor Day. Schools again were not being closed, and even if they were opening up, it was so close for them. So we we're finalizing things for Arbor Day for Eden Park, the Vietnam Memorial.
Ooh,
They're planting 22 trees, working with Dave Boutel on that.
oh,
I think he's got one tree for us, but I think he'd like to put them in May, but I think right now we've got one tree for Arbor Day.
okay, 22 trees in Eden Park.
Right. These are for a lot of the replacements that are going, replacements for trees that were removed, Austrian pines that had been diseased that we removed in the area. And I think Dave Boutel has been working with Human Nature. Human Nature's office is right across the street.
It's across there, yeah.
Right.
Well, these were replacements for Dutch elm disease, weren't they? Did you just say that?
They were pines, Austrian pines.
Well,
and-
what took all those trees out that one year? Was it Dutch elm disease or was it just a variety of things?
Emerald ash borer,
Emerald ash borer, yeah,
that was the big one recently.
for various diseases.
But this is the area where we had Austrian pines planted and they were diseased.
Exactly. Where is this in Eden Park? Do we know? Just all over?
It's the Vietnam Memorial.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's right. Let's see.
Across on Twin Lakes.
Across from Twin
Oh,
Lakes is the
okay.
easiest way to describe it. Yes.
Okay, I do now know where that
Yeah.
is, yes.
Hey, Robin, I have a side question about Eden Park and trees that you may or may not know the answer.
Okay.
In 2009, I think, our sister city of Gifu gave us 15 rare cherry trees that were from the highest collection of sort for the city. And these trees went into a quarantine because of, first of all, the regulations, and they were in quarantine in Washington, D.C. And over the years, we heard that indeed they had been contaminated, but that the National Arboretum, if I'm correct, was taking care of the decontamination. That is over 10 years ago. Do you know anything about that? Do you know if the trees will be ever planted or if they are dead or?
No, but should we contact the National Arboretum in DC?
Well, maybe first would be to contact Mark House.
Mark House, okay.
Probably who will then contact the former manager of Crown, Andrea.
Yeah,
And they would give you probably an update, but it's supposed to be a rare collection of all kind of different colors of cherry blossom and pretty special. So I'd like to not lose track of that gift.
And Gerald, these cherry trees, they were quarantined for numerous years?
Yeah,
yes,
they were quarantined as soon as they arrived per protocol. And then as they were quarantined, they found that there was a pest that was actually the reason why they were quarantined, to not spread that. The information I had in my parks day is that the National Arboretum was, and maybe that's not the National Arboretum, whomever deals with that, was treating them. And so now the trees are probably pretty nice sized tree. I don't know if they exist or if they end up dying.
Okay, I'll put a call into Mark House, Gerald.
Okay.
Good.
I remember all of that situation.
Well, Gerald put a bunch of cherry trees in when you were here. We put a bunch in all park for the Japanese American Society.
That's right.
Yeah, 150 of them.
Yeah.
They look spectacular this year.
Oh, they're there and they look beautiful. Well, we've covered quite a few things. Does anyone have anything else that we need to discuss immediately?
We have a lot of things that would be, we have a lot of questions, Robin, and we have a lot of conversations that can't necessarily be decided today.
I would like to just make a comment that I continue to appreciate the real work that city employees do, particularly the people of this division of the park world, not only the foresters, but the green space people, all of that. So in a time of uncertainty, you guys have remained steadfast, and I appreciate that.
That's a very good thing to say, Gerald. Thank you very much for reminding us that we do need to have that. I think our city employees frequently are not heralded as much as they need to be. They're supposed to do their jobs, but they go way beyond their jobs, I think, in many ways, especially for the urban forestry.
Well, and you know, since we have Carolyn and Angie and Greg that are also, well, that are not parks employee, but other city employee, I have been amazed by their, again, the ability that they have had to do the work. So.
Thank you for making that. Thank you for making that comment, Gerald. That certainly needed to be said. Is there anything else that anybody would like to contribute or ask a question or?
I just have a few updates
Okay.
on other topics. I just want to remind everyone that it's the 40th anniversary of Tree City USA this year. So as Robin finalizes the details of the Arbor Day celebration, just be on the lookout for that information. And we would love to have some representatives from the Urban Forestry Advisory Board present if we are able to have an in-person kind of acknowledgement of the day and reading of the proclamation. So we're currently finalizing those details. The majority of our work is going to be mostly just publications in partnership with the business services team. So we're working diligently with that team just to get the word out about Right Tree, Right Place, 40 benefits of trees to commemorate the 40th anniversary. And then we're working to do some videos about how to best pick a tree if you go to a nursery, things like that. So a lot of it will be virtual, but we are working to have some sort of in-person proclamation reading with those details to come.
Normally this is done at a school.
Yeah, I think it will be done at Eden Park this year if we're given the approval to proceed.
Okay.
Aside from that,
will we be planting the tree in Eden Park instead of a school? Okay. I have you cannot imagine that each school that we did this would have a class or a group of classes come out and they would plant the tree. One child would have been selected and they would always give us a song and or a poem, or at one time it was a whole array of pictures of trees, their various kinds of trees. And it has been really a wonderful experience to bring these children in. And I'm really sorry we're not going to have a school this year.
Yeah, I look forward to being able to do that in the years to come.
Some of them were so clever.
Yeah.
One of them did a rap. Kennedy Heights did a rap song. And
that's awesome.
I wish we put that on tape. That was just, and there were 4th and 5th graders. It brought down that so-called house.
So the other thing I wanted to just mention, that as you guys are out and about, we have some pretty great developments going in downtown that Robin has worked diligently with 3CDC and DOTE just to oversee. So we'll be finishing up the installation of Liberty Street this spring. So what we have left is the north section. There are about 7 different species that are going in. These are all new tree wells. They have soil cells connecting the tree wells and around the wells themselves on the north side. So it's a pretty exciting project. We were able to do a similar project on Court Street. Yeah, so again, those planters will have soil cells basically expanding the subsurface. So, and again, the same kind of project that'll be going in at Fountain Place, which is at, I want to
Oh,
say
really?
Fifth and Vine. Is that right, Robin?
The latest one, yes, it's Fountain Place is Fifth and Vine, Fifth and Race, yeah, that whole block,
The
Yeah, so
old Macy's, the old Macy's building.
right?
Yeah.
So that streetscape is also being updated, and they will also have soil cells installed. So we have this great momentum right now that's kind of taking place, at least in our downtown area, that we hope to expand to other business districts throughout the city. So if you're out and about, stop by and check out the new tree plantings, and just remember there's more going on under the ground than what meets the eye.
So, yeah, I have a question about that, Crystal. I saw on the city manager's proposal for the spending of the stimulus money, I think $250,000 for 2 years for tree planting, canopy increase kind of thing. Do we have, it's 250, isn't it?
It's 500,000 a year, so $1 million
Okay.
total.
Okay. Do we have the capacity to actually purchase and plant these trees?
Yeah, so that was another thing I was going to bring up. So we had, I guess it's twofold, right? So we need to know exactly where we can spend these funds, whether or not we can, expand the capacity of relief and, do a tree giveaway in high priority areas so that these trees could be planted on private property or other public property versus just being restricted to the streetscape. So that would be my first big question as to like how the funds can actually be utilized. We had a meeting with purchasing on Monday. Our planting contract is actually up and ready for renewal by July. We were trying to determine whether we should do a multiple award contract or do a single contract for a traditional planting contractor, and then have like invitation to bid options for kind of large scale, $200,000 plus installations that have very strict or very specified scope of work for how to install, where to install, all those good pieces. And so they are going to regroup and let us know what our best option is, because the concern is that if we have a citywide contractor already in place, as we have historically done, our concern is the capacity of that one contractor to manage that many trees. Yeah. So
and the supply also.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's where it comes, the real question comes down to is, how can these funds be spent? And so if we can diversify the plant material to where we're not looking for, 2.5, 3-inch caliper trees, that we would restrict to the streetscape, we can really kind of plant, do our 15-gallon, 5-gallon potential tree giveaway, and then partner with an organization like, say, Groundwork Ohio River Valley or Keep Cincinnati Beautiful to do more targeted plantings where we need them that wouldn't necessarily be street side.
Well, we've had this discussion before, and I would like to see that we could do it something. Don't you think it'd be good, Paul, if we could do something other than just street side? We've had this discussion before. And I
think it all comes back to how the funds are expected to be spent based on what the restrictions are that come from the federal government. So that'll be my first question once we have clarification, if and when that funding amount passes council. So at this point, it's been presented from the city manager and the mayor to council. I'm not sure when that goes before council. I think there's a public hearing process that's going to be taking place.
Yeah, there's a public hearing on Monday, but I think the first bunch of money is coming before the end of, I don't know, is that early May or before the end of April? So when I saw the amount for increasing the canopy, I was a little worried about the capacity of doing that. Yes, I have my eyes on the rules, but that's going to be pretty tough to do $1 million worth of trees in a short period of time.
yeah.
The other option could be that the funding be utilized to expand existing tree wells, do subsurface improvements. You know, the funding could really go a long way to improve the existing conditions of trees in order to, you know, help them meet their full potential. So yeah, I think once we have clarification on, you know, the budget's coming, then we can really start digging into all those nitty-gritty questions.
I certainly hope that we're successful in doing that. We've had this discussion for a number of years, 10, 12 years, about how we utilize any kind of funds of that nature.
Mhm.
I really hope that we can be successful with this, very much so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody who would disagree with that.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep you in the loop as we proceed forward, especially since our next meeting is until September. I wanted to
Correct.
just let you guys know too, that we are in process of securing the remaining funds for fall relief. We've been given the directive to double our the amount of trees that we're giving away. We are currently working
Good.
with the foundation to identify grants to cover the remaining costs, which is roughly $30,000. So I would definitely keep you guys in the loop as that proceeds forward. But essentially, the application process for relief will start in August, and then the trees will be given away in October. So by our next meeting, we should have an update on exactly where relief stands. And then finally, I just wanted to let you guys know about this awesome project that's going in Mount Echo. It's been termed the Trail of Life. We have a donor, we had a donation of 40 trees to mark the 40th anniversary of a local organ donating association. And it's also our 40th anniversary for Tree City USA. So it's a great marriage. So basically along the pathway in Mount Echo, we'll be planting these 40 trees to shade the pathway. The trees that were selected are species that sustain the most life overall. So there are about 5 different types of oak trees. You know, we have some maples and basswood and I think a couple more species. But along the trail, there's also informational signage just to talk about the trees themselves, and with nature quotes just to kind of create this immersive experience as people are walking this trail, and also provide a little bit of public education. So I'm really excited about that one. But that's all I have.
That would be, yeah, that's very exciting. And I'm hoping this trail will be utilized. I think it will be.
It's already
Not
utilized. It's just,
Mhm.
it'll be a little more shaded.
Might be utilized more in that case in the summer. Well, we covered the waterfront. If there's no further conversation,
I have a comment.
okay,
I have a comment. First of all, I want to say, going back to the monthly report, really a well-done monthly
Oh, yeah.
report. I'm going to tell you that, first of all. Secondly, under the subject of urban tree canopy, what Crystal was just talking about right now, I had made some notes on my own before about trying to get planning done now that we have the county, the city, all involved in this, that landscaping on rooftops, to take a good look at what we can do in that kind of manner, even if it's just green. That helps out a lot. I was an architect. I know we put a lot of gravel up on roofs so that the rubber roof doesn't get ultraviolet light. Well, you can
Right.
put soil up there and do the same thing.
Mhm.
Parking lots, landscaping in parking lots, landscaping with wider sidewalks. Everybody's trying to encroach on the roads, the bike trails and everything, so the automobile has to go somewhere else. But anyway, I will comment that in Northside, driving down to Northside from College Hill, now that we can park on either side of the road and there's one lane at rush hour heading south and one heading north, it moves faster than it did when there was no parking between 7 and 9, because people slid in and out and people still parked.
oh,
So that one lane, I believe, moves better, slower, but more steady than it did when there was 2 lanes at rush hour. And I think that's true in Clifton. I think it's true other places that we could take more look at when we're encroaching on the road by automobile, by bicycles, maybe wider sidewalks, more tree planting. Again, what we were talking about, planting in front and rear yards of people. But then the big one is when you talk about spending all this money for tree planting, the worst thing I think we all agree to is driving up and down the expressways. They're just bare.
Well,
they're
they
bare.
weren't, and now that, yeah, a lot of those trees died and we got a whole lot of honeysuckle for a while.
Yeah.
Well, we got
So yeah,
growth.
Reno, I can
Just
at least
there.
speak to two of those items. So we are on track. We're actually ahead of schedule for our urban tree canopy assessment. We should have the baseline canopy data by the end of May. And I've asked that the contractor prioritize comparing canopy to socioeconomic demographics, because that's kind of been the directive that we were given for the $1 million spend. So once we have the canopy data back and they start analyzing it against the various prioritization parameters that we've identified, we should start to have a pretty good picture of where we need to plant, going from what happened in 2010 to where we are today. So that will be the key guide for how the $1 million is spent and where it needs to be spent in order to kind of meet our canopy goals. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up, so with the culmination of the UTC, the last piece of that grant is $40,000 to plant in target areas for mitigation of PM 2.5. And those areas are going to be most likely right along the highway. So Groundwork Ohio River Valley already has the contract with the state for that installation. So once we get the data back, that'll be, I think, one of our primary areas for planting. It'll just be working through the details with ODOT to determine how, whys, wheres, and whens we can proceed. So we'll probably get that process started this summer, just in conversation with them, expecting that that's where the PM 2.5 prioritization is going to be.
Can I throw in
Sounds
a
very exciting.
question? I was just
That
gonna
sounds
throw
very
a question
exciting.
in, if that's okay.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Or
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can.
I remember years ago that the ODOT was giving money to Cincinnati Parks Green Space
Yeah.
to take care of certain areas, like a lot of the daffodils were planted along 471 and places
Right.
like that. It's been a long time ago, I know. And was there something that happened that cut that? I forgot why they cut off that money. They didn't want to give out the money anymore, I guess. Or ODOT is not giving money to the parks anymore, are they? Or,
No.
They actually
Some of
are.
those daffodils are still there.
Every
Yeah,
year,
right.
every year the city would get some money from the state to maintain its highways, but it was never enough to do everything. But it was supposed to cover de-icing and also vegetation management on there.
okay.
Never much.
I
But
just
we would
remember in
put
the
in-
90s. I remember in the 90s,
Go
there were a
ahead.
lot of plantings and a lot of private or a lot of landscapers were hired right around the urban core along 75, 71 in that area.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
at some point it stopped, and I didn't know whether that was more a financial thing from what we were getting from the state or not.
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the ODOT has money and they're willing to let us do it. The white flower people, 25, 30 years ago, planted dogwoods, all the dogwoods on 75. But then ODOT doesn't have the money to give us anymore, so all they have the money for is 15-foot batwings.
So I will say that
And then they have money again, and all of a sudden we're getting some more money. And then they don't have any money, so the 15-foot batwings come out.
We do have a
Wildflower,
portion of our budget in
trees,
green
you
space
name
that
it.
comes directly from the state. We have a portion of our funding in green space that comes directly from the state. The manager that's overseeing this program, Ann Yeoman, I would say was never fully explained how our budget was allocated. And so now that we've dug deep into it and have kind of reassessed and bargained for additional funding, we will be looking towards those areas that were historically maintained and taking new areas on. So that's kind of our projection for this next year, is to identify where our priority 1 areas are, within the ODOT right away. And then start implementing those improvements over the course of the next year and years moving forward. So you will see more, there will be more to come on that specific topic as we get through the summer and identify exactly where those priority areas are and where we can maximize our capacity.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Anything further? Anyone? Well, Robin, do you have anything further? Well, if there's no, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Don't everybody speak at once.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. This is Angie.
Resident
Oh, hi.
Reno, I second it.
Anyone have any further conversation, or? We will entertain a vote. Anybody? All in favor, say aye.
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 No negatives. Then our next meeting will literally be September 7th, but we will be doing the Arbor Day on Friday, April 30th in Eden Park at the Vietnam Memorial. And anyone is invited to attend there. I mean, feel free. I would say anytime we go down the highway, if we can see the beautiful things that are along there, we should not stop and look, but appreciate them anyway. So we will not have another meeting of it until September 9th, Thursday. But we will be doing the Arbor Day in Eden Park at the Vietnam Memorial, in case anyone wishes to come.
What time on April 30th is that?
We generally have it around noon. I don't think we've set a time yet. We'll let you know.
It's usually 11 o'clock or.
We usually do it for the schools that are, around lunches, but since we don't have schools, we can kind of set a little bit differently.
Okay. But you'll determine that.
Yeah. What's that?
When you guys select the time, I'll email it to the members.
Sheila will email the members the final date and time. I mean, the final time.
And I'll call Sheila.
All right. Thanks, guys. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
summer.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Have a good summer.